This is a Play Your Way network presentation. Get the full story at PlayLifeYourWay.com. They came, they podcasted, and left you wanting more. So this time, they're back to finish you off. It's time to take a deep dive. The Player Way.
Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, with all due respect, it is time for the deep dive. Normal music that we play is not jovial right now. We just came out of Avengers Infinity War, but before I go any further, I first want to say shouts out to Agency Cartel, the official chill clothing for the Playaway podcast. And of course, one of my co-captains is here in studio, here at the bar in Atlanta, not in Decatur where it's greater, but in Gwinnett County because we still good. You hear that scrumptious voice laughing.
Yes.
Mr. Corrupting the System himself.
That is right. I am in the house, corrupting the system all the way in GA because I'm doing it. I should have done a better setup.
You should have.
I am corrupting the system because I am all the way in GA doing it.
The Player Way.
There we go.
That's great, man.
And along with us, one of our moviegoer friends, James Turner, a supporter of the network. He is with us. James, welcome Mr. James Turner to the studio.
Hey, how y'all doing out there?
That's what's up.
All right. Thanks so much for having me on today. I appreciate it.
So here's what we got going on. So we got a little Avengers talk going on right now in the background.
That's right. Don't spoil it for me though. I don't know.
No
if you're
spoilers.
No spoilers.
A little Avengers talk going on in the background. But then we also got. You can hear that? You can hear that? That's
right.
Also the draft in the background as well.
It's going on. That lets you know exactly when we're recording.
They are super serious.
Right? Green Bay just made a trade for a pick, took a quarterback, and now my Dallas Cowboys are about to be on the clock, so I can see what may be questionable decision. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So we're going to get to a little bit of sports rundown a little bit later on.
That's some dedication.
Yeah, but first we got to get back over here to the Thanos world.
Yes.
That's what we got to do. We got to get on over here, and we got to talk about it, because it is time for the deep dive, and so that's what we're about to do, y'all.
In time, you will know.
So, this is a spoiler-free review. If you're listening to this, you're not going to be spoiled at all. Don't worry about it. You know, we're gonna do our best to give you a good analysis so you know what to expect. Is this a good film? What are the high points in terms of notes that they're going to hit? And we got a few exclusives as well.
Exclusive. The Player Way.
Exclusive. Indeed. That's what's up. So with no further ado, let's get it started. All right, so immediate thoughts, guys.
This is James, by the way. I thought that this was exactly what it needed to be to take Marvel into its next chapter, basically. I think there were a lot of surprises. There were some things that were expected, but it was a great Marvel experience, just like any other movies they have, in my humble opinion. And I, even got a little, misty-eyed a couple times. So
there's definitely opportunities to get misty-eyed in this thing.
I think you should expect that to happen in a little bit, but it's great from start to finish.
Yeah, we got James here because James was like, before we record, he was like, y'all can't be spoiling the movie. I was like, well, why don't you come over and record with us tonight and make sure we keep above reproach.
Linchpin, like the.
Yeah, exactly. So Derek, what are your thoughts of the film?
My immediate thoughts is I'm happy at what I just witnessed. I have been clamoring for 10 years, Miguel. Ain't I been saying it for 10 years, and it happened. May 2nd, 2008 is when we got to see Robert Downey Jr. don the Man of Iron armor. And here we are 10 years later, and we saw incredibleness on the screen. I was very happy, very satisfied with what I witnessed, and I would like to think that the majority of people would share that opinion, but I don't. Hey, everybody's entitled to their own.
All right.
About the only thing people should be entitled to is their opinion.
So let's start with all really, really, really good points. So let's start off with Thanos. And shout out to those people on YouTube who like to make fun of me. There was like, one guy wrote, and he was like, why do you keep saying Thanos? I was like, because I'm country. That's why I say stuff. But it is Thanos. Thanos. Okay, from the Isle of Patmos.
The Mad Titan.
the Greek name.
Titan.
Yeah. So anyway, but the Grecian Thanos. Anyway, he did a good job.
Josh Brolin.
The Ball
Shout out to
Chinian.
Josh Brolin. Yeah.
Man,
shout out
for
to
real.
Yeah, exactly. What can we say? First and foremost, Josh Brolin does an amazing job.
Absolutely.
If you're expecting, a lot of people, ever since Black Panther came out, they're looking at Eric Killmonger and saying, okay, Michael B. Jordan brought a lot to the character, but the writing was really good. Mm-hmm. You can see that they did the same treatment with Thanos. Like, Thanos is not just this guy who's this mad tyrant.
Right.
There's a reason behind what he's doing. That's the best thing I can say without spoiling it. He has his reasons. He sees himself as the only hero in the universe. He sees himself as the only person who understood General Zod vibes.
All right. That's a great parallel.
From Man of Steel. A little
a
bit
great
of that.
parallel.
But done a little bit less like, I'm a bad guy. You should hate me.
I mean, that's basically, you get so many of these movies where the villain is so one note, like they only have one dimension, but it's definitely multiple levels to Thanos. I think that's what really makes him like probably maybe number 1, number 2 Marvel villains.
Yeah, I would definitely put him right above Killmonger.
I mean,
it's a close match.
That is a close match because as villains go, it's like if you had to strip down what a villain is, putting Killmonger versus Thanos, because if there's going to be people out there, how could you even compare these two? You can watch the movie. You then talk to us because you can compare these two, and BK is totally on point with the shades of Killmonger where a lot of Marvel movies, a lot of villainous movies, they don't really allow you to see what a villain is, where they're coming from. It's like, hey, they're a bad guy, we're good guys, let's do that.
That's right.
This is a great opportunity to look at that.
To reference General Zod again, and shout out to the nice guy, Kadan Nanji, if you're listening, dude. I know you're loving this part of the podcast. The thing that I loved about General Zod is when they talk about his purpose. Like, in Krypton, everyone has a purpose. They're born with, like, this code written into their DNA. So, like, their purpose, just like having brown eyes or blue eyes, having a purpose on Krypton, you're born with, this is what you're going to do in our society. And it's similar to what people think is going to happen with kids in the future, where you can pick what your kid is going to be good at. Are they going to be an athlete? Are they going to be a doctor? Are they going to be a theologian? Like, what are their preferences? So that's kind of what happens on Krypton, is like these kids are born to be a certain thing. And Zod is created to protect Krypton and to make sure that if anything happens to Krypton, to bring it back by any means necessary.
Zod is Danzo.
Yeah.
If you're a Naruto fan.
Yes.
Zod is Danzo.
Yes,
that's,
exactly.
That's a great...
I'll give you that.
He is the foundation.
Exactly. You have the Hokage, then you have Danzo.
Yes.
Hey, man, I'll do this dirty work to actually keep what your dream is.
But unlike Danzo, Zod isn't really doing anything underhanded. He's just going directly at his mission. He's just doing his mission. And you find out at the end, he's like, you're trying to stop me from doing the thing I was created to do. And now I've done it, and you've taken my purpose away from me. Without purpose, what's the point of me being alive? You might as well kill me now. So let's fight. Let's get these hands, and let's do it. Thanos. I'm gonna have a hard time.
It's okay.
Thanos.
Don't let somebody adjust your own vernacular and
Yeah, but I also just watched a movie where they hit me over the head with Thanos. Nobody says Thanos.
Thanos, get your ass back in bed while you're over here.
Let me work on it. So anyway, I'm gonna keep saying Thanos, and people are gonna be like,
bitch, what?
I gotta work on that.
Thanos. Let's just go ahead and call him Dion.
Book him, Thanos.
All right, Dion.
Exactly.
Dion. We'll call him
Dion. Thanos.
Thanos.
Exactly. So anyway, I didn't forget what my point is, but long story short, Thanos, you get to...
I say that to say this.
I say that to say, yes, thank you for that.
Ding.
Fist bump, exactly.
You get somebody essentially with a clear purpose.
Exactly, a clear purpose. It makes perfect sense.
Where you have to make a choice, be like, am I on his side or am I on...
It kind of makes sense.
Marvel is starting to understand that a villain is a good guy turned upside down. They don't see themselves as a bad person.
The difference between a hero and a villain, as you've heard me several times on this podcast say, is just their agenda. That's it.
Exactly. You're watching a master at work.
The player way.
Exactly. So, we made a lot of conspiracy theories this week.
Conspiracy.
Shout out to Nate.
Shout out to Nate.
What if? But what if?
We want you to know we love you.
I've always heard this is his favorite thing.
It is his favorite
It is
thing.
his favorite thing.
It's
So
awesome.
long. It takes so forever. But anyway, my thing was
Breaking sports news.
Go ahead. Hold on for a second. Give us a quick second, right quick.
All right. So,
Yes, it's time for the Sports Rundown, brought to you by the Playaway Podcast. Take it away, gentlemen.
It's time. All right, that's right. It's time. Sports Rundown.
It's time for the sports rundown.
it is time for the sports rundown.
We got some exclusives.
It is exclusives, as you said. Of course, DTX in the house, and I'm corrupting the system because my Cowboys made a brilliant. They made a good pick. They went with a linebacker. They're bolstering that defense. They didn't listen to the clamorings to get a wide receiver after they released Des Bryant on the 13th. They actually went defensive. Linebacker looks like Leighton Vander Esch, maybe Boise State. I don't care if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but hey, I'm just happy that they got young talent on the defense. That's great. Back to the business.
Before we go,
All right, before we go back to the business,
any other sports, any other picks that came across your screen?
Yes, I'm not happy that the Giants pretty much got the best running back coming out of college in years. I'm not even going to name his name. And the Redskins also made a specific defensive tackle pick just to stop Dallas from running on them. So the NFC East is going to be an interesting force again to battle us out. And, of course, we all know that the Eagles, shout out to Bink unnecessarily, but I will give you respect. Y'all did win a Super Bowl, finally, for the first time in your franchise's history ever after several attempts at making that run.
Shout out to Bing. You definitely made those. I mean, for right now, for the next year, you definitely got the right picks.
The player way.
Anyway, all right. So going back into shutting down the sports piece for just a second. Moving on with the rest of the show. So we're not going to spoil any deaths, okay? But just know that anybody can get it. We talked about this in our conspiracy theories earlier this week. We said anybody could get it, okay? So just keep that in mind. You're not going to be disappointed. There will be bloodshed. That's all I'm going to say.
It's called Infinity War. Okay,
It's a war.
It's a war.
There
all
are
right?
several battles.
And the thing about it is, regardless of like how much information is out there about this movie, there will still be some things that surprise you.
Yes. I will say, speaking of surprises, there was a little too much information in the trailers.
I will say that. And, of course, I was running my social project of only watching the first release trailer of Infinity War. And I will say that really enhanced the experience for me as a moviegoer. Mm-hmm. After only watching the first trailer, and that's it, and doing my best to avoid any spoilers, which is difficult to do, being a co-host on the Playaway podcast discussing this.
And Derek, I have to say you inspired me to do the same thing. Like,
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I tried my best to not see any previews, like anything regarding the movie, because I didn't want it to be spoiled whatsoever.
Shout out to 2001 Frontier, because he told me that I also inspired him to do the same thing as well. So did you feel that it adjusted your experience?
I believe so, because I mean, every opportunity, every time you turn around, there's always something happening about it, and so I don't like for anything to be spoiled. I don't like theories. I don't like speculation. Like any of that stuff spoils it for me.
Yeah.
So
like even a hint of it be like, well, I wasn't even thinking that could be an option.
Exactly.
Well, now I'm wondering if that's an option.
Exactly.
Is that an option? I want to just give me the first trailer. Let me see what I can come up with on my own.
Exactly.
Yeah, and really this film, the best part about the film is that it's an event, but the worst thing about this film is that it does highly hinge on surprise. So it's going to be a question on whether or not there's a rewatchability, I had someone who was a bit of a horse dingle sit next to me. None of my friends, but some guy I didn't even know, who I specifically was like, just want to let you know, I love Marvel.
He gave a very pleasant disclaimer before the movie.
I may
experience.
react a little bit. There was plenty of seats in the theater, but he chose to be close and snugly up to my cuddly bareness. And I said a couple things, just like everybody else in the theater. Shout out to my wife, who was like the loudest in the theater, but. How
dare you have a reaction to the grandest movie of the year that you've been waiting a decade for?
And he was just being the biggest dingleberry about everything. You know,
and we're not an average dingleberry, King Kong's dingleberry. You know what I'm saying?
And then what was funny is because it was a dark theater, he didn't really know who he was sitting next to.
He thought
so when the lights came on,
he thought he was talking to John Cena.
He definitely made a beeline to get out of there before coming to see me.
It was almost an eye line.
It was like, hey, you want smoke, homie? No smoke.
Sir, I would like to apologize for my exclamation towards you at reacting to movie, and I would like to let you know that your next movie experience is on me. Here's all the money in my wallet. I'm not going to say you're robbing me, but I feel like you just deserve this.
But I would go see it, and because I'm Movie Pass, I'm probably going to go see it tomorrow earlier on in the day. Just to kind of, and the theater didn't have like the best audio either.
Analyze. It was a little quiet. It was a little
quiet.
I'm not going to put the theater on blast of what theater was, but
shout out to Regal Midlife Breeze.
Like I said, I wasn't going to do it, but it was a little quiet. It reminded me of,
and that's probably why he didn't want me to say much.
Reminded me of Ready Player One at the beginning, where I was like,
"Oh my god,
are they gonna just turn it up?"
I expected that to be way much bigger. Like they were playing some something big, like I can remember the song. What was the song?
It was Jump.
It was Jump by Van Halen. I'm like, this is a great '80s song to open the
and
movie.
And it was so quiet.
I was like, what are y'all doing out there? Like, can y'all hear that? No, yeah, that's good. This is good. Let's turn the volume up to 2.5, and that'll be perfect.
This is definitely not Spinal Tap. So
exactly.
I mean, they're not doing it.
There is an 11 button, but they didn't know it in this theater. I will say it took a little bit from my experience, but getting back to the trailer business, I know we went down a rabbit hole, but that's just part of the wonderland of the Player Away podcast.
Exactly.
And it really enhanced my experience. It allowed me to be surprised. It allowed me to, like I said, my own theories that I formulated. I got to see if they played out, and it just... And as you mentioned on our most recent podcast, they're messing with you in trailers. I definitely saw it in Black Panther, and there's just some things where like, this clearly has to be this part of the movie. Yes. Maybe not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know.
So what we just got through ragging on the trailer is giving away too much, but at the same time, to Derreck's point, big time, and shout out to Derreck, big time on that one. There's certain things you see in the trailer that you think are going to happen. There's some things that are not going to happen. So there are some surprises, some not so good. There's one thing in particular that we're going to talk about when we can spoil it. I was not happy about. Okay. I needed more of a certain character. Mm-hmm. We saw that this character was in the trailer, and this character wasn't really there. They kind of were, but not where we saw them in the trailer. Exactly. And so we'll talk about that at another time. But this film does absolutely deliver. It absolutely makes you feel at the end of the film, you're gonna be really wanting to watch after credits. Do stay after credits. Mm-hmm. Stay after credits. To Derreck's
Spoiler
credit,
alert, it's a Marvel movie.
Exactly. To Derreck's credit, he was like, "How long?" I mean, after all this time, even Rachel was like, "Y'all don't get it at this point."
Yeah,
like it's your bad. It's all your bad,
and it's definitely one worth like hanging out. But you're gonna want to at the end of the film. You're gonna be kind of aghast at what happened. They go a little further than we had expected. I know it went a little further than I expected. There's a resolution to this film.
I concur.
There's a resolution to this film to be had. But as James pointed out, there may be some people who feel a certain way.
I think there are going to be some unhappy people. At the choice that they made for the resolution. For me, it was perfect. Like I said, it was a perfect way to end the chapter and to begin another, essentially. And that's what they're trying to do. This is supposed to be the end of the first phase, or this phase, particularly. Yeah, it's the end of a trilogy. Yeah.
You know?
I'll say this isn't a spoiler either. I appreciate one aspect that I noticed in the movie. it felt that whenever you saw a certain group of characters on the screen, it was like watching pieces of that particular movie. When I saw certain groups of characters, I'm like, oh, I'm watching this aspect of this universe. Oh, I'm watching this. And that, but it didn't break up the flow of the movie. It made sense to me, and it was applicable.
And that's what I was going to say is this movie feels like from start to finish, like the story just keeps moving. To me, there feels like there's
great progression.
No real slow points. Like it just keeps moving
as it should have.
As it should. I mean, and the fact that they have these like different scenes with different characters adds to that movement.
It does.
Like, keeps the story going.
It was perfect.
Yeah, for the most part, they stay pretty true to what those characters would do. However, there's a certain
situation.
There's a certain cadre of characters that are very popular. That are very popular right now. I'm not gonna ruin it, but if you read in between, you read in between. I don't feel like they were very well represented in this film. A little more quiet than expected. Not as much leadership as expected, considering the backdrop and how much the rest of the universe is dependent on them. So it was kind of weird, but the way they button up the film at the end, it makes sense. However, what they do toward the end, they don't give you enough of what's happening to really care. And I think the reason why is based on the timing of these characters coming into the universe. They're assuming you have had enough of them, and you can't.
And we'll get a lot more of that on future podcasts.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're heading in the direction.
I know,
you are.
but I'm dancing on it, but I'm not giving anything
You're
away.
heading in that
Standing
direction.
on it.
It's just not enough. Not enough. Okay. Yes, exactly. So anyway, yes, I did say something that was kind of
you
close.
did. You did.
Exactly. But you don't know how or who.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave it at that.
But-
and with that,
But
I've been your resident podcast DJ, BK, helping you understand how to curate your life and media and Avengers Infinity War.
The Player Way.
Shouts out to corrupting the system himself, D-Rock.
right here in GA, helping out curate my media and life and my hot super wings, the player way.
The Player
Indeed.
Way.
And yeah, definitely, it's Flame on Friday when you're hearing this for the first time. Feels like the first time. There's definitely some Flame on Friday action. Derek and I just came out and did a 10...
You'll see. We did a great captain's challenge for you guys to enjoy.
Great captain's challenge. I almost lost my lunch while having it. And you're going to see that on the video on Flame on Friday. But until next time, no matter what path you take or what rules you decide to follow, just make sure you're doing it the player way. And James, thank you. James Turner, thank you for coming on the podcast. We'll love to have you back in the
Appreciate
future.
you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. And with no further ado, send us off, D.
Peace out, Rabbit.
Thanks for listening to the Player Way podcast. Recorded in a single take from Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, by Nathan Peterson, Derek Lewis, and BK Jackson.
And I'm Darren Marlar, the majestic voice of the Player Way podcast.
Our opening theme is titled Bound by Ricky Remedy, courtesy of Elysian Records. And our closing theme is titled Coconut King Diaries by Xander, spelled Zahnder. You can find this music by both Ricky Remedy and Xander, and many more tracks on SoundCloud. And remember, no matter what choices you make or paths you follow, just make sure you do it
the Player Way.
See you next week.